Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Susie Church Brown, and I am here with one of my favorite blobbers, Angie.
Hi, Susie. Thanks for being here to talk this morning.
So we're going to talk about something we were just chatting before we started to record, and we're going to talk about the elephant in the corner, and that is money, which most people don't like to talk about. And right now, especially, like we're going into um, uh, a lot more days than we ever imagined of this government shutdown. And people, I am 100% certain, are starting to feel the pinch in their bank accounts and their wallets. Because even if you are, even if you are asked to continue to work, you are not getting a paycheck.
Yeah, here we are in this situation with really uncertain finances. No matter what level you are, everyone's kind of questioning, is the paycheck coming at this point? Especially because we all knew at the beginning of this, there was a law in place that everyone would receive their back pay at some point, and now that has come into question. So I really think across the board, um, foreign service workers, all of us, a lot of us in the diplomatic community, were really wondering if a paycheck coming is forthcoming, or are we going to be missing a few paychecks and then go back to work?
Right. And I'm not sure about your husband with his language training. I assume that's still going forward. But like I know my husband goes every day, even though um, he isn't being paid. And so like and the job is different because there's not the same sort of demand because government is shut down. But I mean it's a really weird time.
Yeah, I feel like we've been doing this for 22 years and we haven't encountered anything like this. We have been through government shutdowns before. Um, we were overseas when that happened, so we felt a little bit removed from it, and it didn't feel as directly impactful to us because I think, my husband was still going to work at that time, was an accepted position or something that needed to be filled. Right now, we are living just outside of DC in Arlington. My husband's in language training at FSI, which closed down immediately. No one's going in. Nobody is meant to meet outside of class. If the group of people studying Ukrainian wanted to meet together at a cafe for 3 hours a day and study, that is off the table. So uh, it feels directly impactful to us now.
Well, and like overseas, so we were overseas as well with the last longer shutdown. But you don't have the same utilities, right? Because you're living in an embassy house. You don't have, I mean, you still have, other bills. You still have credit card bills, obviously, but you don't have to pay for water and heat and gas and sewer and all of the things that don't really care whether or not you're getting a paycheck.
Mhm.
And I mean, living in DC, like we were just there this summer, like groceries there are crazy.
Yes, we came from Laos, right? And so the the amount of fruit and veg and supplies that you could get to feed the family for a week, what we would spend in Laos versus shopping in the US. It's a pretty big difference here. Um, yeah, exactly. And we're paying for all the things that we normally don't need to pay for, especially a mortgage. We have a mortgage payment every month that we always pay, of course, but when we have renters in our house, they're covering that
True.
expense.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I didn't even think of that. Wow. I mean, it's not like you can predict when, I don't know, maybe someone could have predicted this happening, and that's when people should be bidding to serve overseas. But a number of my, especially the ones that are most impacted here, I mean, obviously no one's getting a paycheck, but the ones that are most impacted are the ones that are younger officers. Maybe first tour, second tour, and they don't have quite the cushion that we have managed to build in our time of working as long as we have. And we have now 3 college tuitions, my own, and then the 2 kiddos, and that's a considerable outlay. But again, we have a cushion, but those younger officers, they don't have that sort of luxury, and I really, really feel for them. It's hard to know what to say other than I'm really sorry, and this isn't normal, and hang in there because this isn't normal.
It really isn't. Yeah, I think what we're in discussing what we were going to try to convey during this podcast, we were thinking we're not here as your financial advisors to explain the details of where to find the lowest interest rates or anything, but just to acknowledge that all of us in the community are really feeling this sudden burden, especially because government, that was the stable paycheck, right? Like that for my entire lifetime, especially I grew up in Northern Virginia. The idea was you're not going to make the big bucks working for government, but you're probably going to have a steady paycheck that was pretty reliable. Things were predictable in the government. You had a predictable timeline of promotions, of increased pay, and it was so steady. That's what draws a lot of people. Um, that it wasn't going to be kind of signing up for a new business that might collapse, and there was no risk involved. When you work for the government, you are dedicating yourself to a position and a job. You will probably make it through the ranks if you are dedicated to your work. You will probably make promotions and level up, and you had a steady income. And now we're in this really questionable, unsteady, uncertain thing. And I think for all the families out there who are smart with money, really smart and thoughtful and careful, you dedicate your payments. You look at your monthly income, like you, Susie, right? You decide, can we afford this university versus this university payment? How's it going to work? And all the families are looking at things. Single people are looking at things. Can I afford this car payment? And then should I invest in this property? And how am I, should I invest in my own education? They're making plans. And then when you're expecting those paychecks and they don't come in, it's really unsettling. How are people dealing with this? I'm talking to a lot of friends in the State Department who are considering taking the USAA interest-free loan that's been offered. And I know some people have been rejected and unable to get that loan. It's just like, how are people going to make their car payments and their house payments and the university payments that they're paying for? And especially if, as you said, as a young person, some people haven't had time to build up an emergency fund. Um, it's pretty stressful.
Yeah, and we so and you did the same thing, right? This summer, leaving one post and going to the next.
Mm.
It is really expensive. And just, I mean, home leave is you are stateside for a longer period of time than ever expected. And since we don't have a home, we are so fortunate as to have some friends that allow us to stay with them. But like you still have a lot of Airbnbs and such, and car rentals, et cetera. And so, um, even people who are well established are probably not quite. This is the time of year when you kind of land on your feet and kind of get settled, right? But I mean, the money part is already like a big problem. But the other part that is really of concern is the people who are determined to be unaccepted. And so there's two terms, right, that basically people are throwing around. There's accepted and unaccepted. And it has nothing to do with someone's worth as an employee, but it basically has to do with the fact that, the workforce has been drawn down and you want to have the minimal number of employees on the official docket, I guess, who are keeping things going while no funds are coming to cover costs. And so they've changed these terms a number of times because, of course, everyone gets upset and insulted. But right now, the terms are accepted and unaccepted. And so the people who are accepted are continuing to do the job, oftentimes covering for multiple people. And then the people who are unaccepted are at home and they are just like not working. It's not like they can get a temporary job because hopefully at some point this shutdown would end and then they would come back and continue working. But point being, now there are a lot of just questionable commentary about, okay, well, if you're unaccepted now, then you clearly are an unnecessary employee. And so there are rumors floating around that the unaccepted lists are also the furlough lists and the RIF lists. And so, like you were just saying, Angie, like it used to be that government job was it's not a sexy job. It's not like you're not cutting edge anything, but you are doing the job, you're doing a good job, and you are going to be employed. Of course, there's always fat that needs to be trimmed, but generally speaking, the workforce is such that it accomplishes the task. And now it feels like, I don't know, it just feels like everyone's just kind of peeking over their shoulder to see, well, do I have a job? Do I not have a job? And it just, my heart just breaks for anybody that is feeling as though they aren't a valuable part of our workforce.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. It was security, and it just feels like that security, that rug has been pulled out from everyone. And it feels like you said, I think when we were being evacuated from post at one point, they had assigned certain people in certain positions as essential workers and non-essential. And the term feels like, oh, okay, I guess I'm superfluous. Like my job is not essential. Great. It feels terrible to look at things that way, or to feel like, oh, I guess they feel like everything can get accomplished without me doing the work that I put in. And each individual who is working knows that they're contributing something. They can see the output that is that they're producing. And then to be told that doesn't matter, we can get by without it, is a little bit of a gut punch. And then to not have any income coming in, or wondering if that check is going to come, or people who have payments that are due now. Um, it's just a tough spot to be in. So I guess we we are here to acknowledge that that is a challenge. Of course, we advise everyone to put together any kind of emergency fund that they can when they're younger. Susie, did you guys start saving? We think back to when we had a much lower household income and we were putting money in savings when and now when we look at it, it feels like, wow, how did anything go to savings um then? But we did start young with working on savings and emergency funds and investments, and all of that. But I don't know.
Yep.
I don't think everyone does that.
No, I don't. So, my husband has regularly given the retirement investment discussions at Post because he sees a lot of younger officers just not doing that and not taking advantage of, like, for example, the TSP or other investment and savings options. I mean, especially if you're younger, you save that, whatever the max is, for a year, and you save that when you're 25, it's exponentially so much more valuable than if you start saving when you're 35 or 45, because it just has that much more time to accrue interest and just grow into like a nice nest egg. And we have been very diligent about that. We've been good about making smart investments. The only investment we have not done is purchase a house, which is a questionable investment anyway, but now we are, next step is in retirement and we are homeless and we don't own a property, but that's another conversation altogether. But yeah, I mean, we've made those tough decisions. I mean, and sometimes it's like, well, we don't need two cars. We definitely don't need two cars, even though two of us have, random activities that we'd like to take care of. We'll figure out how to like manage this with one car. Not everybody makes those decisions. And wow, now it's really, really, it's kind of coming up and biting people in the rear, that these decisions, and that's not to say like, I told you so, but it is so smart to save. And now it's, I don't know, maybe what we need to include with this podcast is, the best coupon clipping websites and such, because like we have to think about that sort of thing. Like, how can we save money on things like food stuff? And there's a couple families here. We're currently in Saudi, and there's a couple families here who are pregnant, and their plan was to go back to the US for having the baby. And it's questionable whether or not they'll get their airfare paid for at this point.
Oh gosh.
And so, they have to make the decision if they purchase the ticket themselves, which, of course, that is always an option, and then hope that they may or may not be reimbursed, or they can consider having the baby here in Riyadh, in Saudi. And I don't know. I don't know how I would decide. I mean, clearly we're past the childbirthing age, but that shouldn't be a worry that we have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are real decisions, and it's a struggle. And in a lot of these cases, there is no right or wrong decision. We don't know yet what the outcome will be, which is true at all times, right? When, like 20 years ago, when we were considering buying a home or it's a question mark. Maybe the home would be a good investment. Maybe it would be better to invest that money in a thrift savings plan. You don't know until 20 years later how it turned out. And so these are big, scary decisions that don't have a right or wrong answer. You make the best decision that you can for yourself at that time. For those families you're mentioning, to think of to think of that, and you're questioning the healthcare and making sure you have the best medical outcome. Of course, that's what you want for yourself and for your child. And then also taking on that burden of stress if you're going to buy a flight that probably costs a couple $1,000s, and this stay and all of that, and taking on that burden of payments that you're going to need to pay back. It really is just added stress for families who, 2 years ago we had that, and you knew your medical was going to be covered by your insurance. You knew you had the option to fly to the designated location for um, advanced healthcare, whatever that is. I think in Laos people would go to was it Korea, or we had Bangkok. There were options, and you didn't have to worry about the financial piece of that, whether that was going to be reimbursed or not. So it's just, yeah, I just feel, I don't know, I think I'm repeating myself, but I feel that burden and the pain of the extra concern over this additional stress that we're all kind of facing now.
I mean, the only thing we can hope is that very soon they'll come to some sort of agreement and figure out how to fund the government, if not through a CR, then through like a full actual approved budget. I don't know, like it kind of feels like there's just people are either end of the argument in DC, and there's not a lot of common ground that they're able to
Middle
find for
ground, yeah.
themselves.
Um, yeah, and I think I just want to remind people too, whenever in challenges like this, I really think there are more options than we see. A lot of times when you feel stuck between a rock and a hard place, we get to a point where you just think, I have to choose A or B. I'm stuck between these two choices. And it feels really scary, and it feels like a lot of pressure. And usually, I would say in 99% of situations, there's more than two options, right? You really have to start thinking like, should we could make a big change. Should I send a message to my neighborhood group on Facebook and say, hey, does anybody have a basement that is empty right now that they want to rent out? Like there are other opportunities that you might not be thinking of. Is there a working position that my, like if I have a teenager might want to work that includes board? Is there a position at a ski resort where they're working, but they also live at the chalet because of the hours there? That there are positions that provide, um, board included with your work, like thinking outside the box of different things that you can do and ways that you can make it work. Just really looking, asking around, like start before you get too focused on option A and B and feeling really limited in that. Think a little bit of outside the box, even within the State Department, right? There are other positions that before you wouldn't have maybe considered taking, or posts that you wouldn't want to move to. And now you want to start thinking about, oh, what if we did something different? What if we shifted things around and took an SIP position? There are different opportunities out there. So I would just encourage everybody who is feeling really stuck right now to kind of explore new ideas maybe that you haven't considered yet.
And just know that we hear you. If people want to comment on different opportunities that they've heard of or shared, for maybe other resources where, I don't know, you could find a very short-term job or different sorts of support. I do hope that, I know that I get emails from different representatives and senators in Virginia where we vote that are on their websites listing different support options and services for government employees. So that might be another resource, but gosh, I wish we had a magic wand and we could just fix this particular situation. But unfortunately, our purple blob does not offer that particular service.
Yes, exactly. We're here to listen. We're here to understand and be on the path with you because we get it. We're in the same, we're all walking the same path here. We're all going through this together. So you are not alone, but we are not wizards. We don't have the magic answers here, but we appreciate you all listening as a community, as being part of our Purple Blob community. We do appreciate your support. We are glad when we get emails or people recognizing our voice maybe and meeting us in person. All of the things that we do appreciate in this community, in building our community and meeting new people in our new opportunities. We appreciate you out there listening, and we struggle with you. So we are here for you. If you have any ideas for other topics that you would like us to discuss, please let us know or reach out to us if you would like to work with any of us personally. We are here. Lisa and Sharoya are not here today on this podcast, but you can reach them, and Susie and I are available. We would love to hear from you. Susie, do you have anything more before we wrap up?
No, I don't. Thanks for listening, everybody. And here's to hoping that this situation comes to some sort of positive conclusion.
We're all in it together. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.